A very impressive job, week one. I've been with Celect for 3 years, so hopefully I can meet the bar that was just set. Thanks for taking the time and giving us the opportunity to chat today. John Anders, I'm CEO of Celect. We are a predictive analytics and artificial intelligence company that was founded out of MIT. We actually met the team from Bristol-Cone through the team from Mahindra at another MIT event. Very excited about what the team's doing and actually with some of the opportunities to work together in the future. I know one of the earlier presentations this morning, you guys were talking a bit about predictive analytics and artificial intelligence, and I'll give you a very specific example of where predictive analytics is being used and within the retail industry. Retail, brands, manufacturing. Mentioned companies founded out of MIT. Our two co-founders are both tenured MIT professors, one within the Sloan School and one within the Electrical Engineering and Computer Science Department. A few years ago, based on some of their research that they were doing and some of the early development of the product, MIT CSAIL, which Devavrat Shah, one of the co-founders, is part of, CSAIL celebrated 50 years of existence, and as part of that, they put together a list of the top 50 technological innovations ever to come out of MIT. On that list are things like the digital computer and ARPANET, right, the precursor to the internet, some pretty fundamental technologies. And Celect was on that list as well, and something that the team's very proud of, and obviously have advanced the technology with a very specific application since then. I bring that up just to point out, while we're not going to get into the deep science of what we're doing, there is some deep science underlying the core platform, and also, I think it's something that spurred the team and the guys to found Celect and bring it into the commercial market. And one of the things that MIT as an organization has actually been really good about supporting to build up that ecosystem of entrepreneurship. So I mentioned that we're focused primarily on retail. And when you think about data science, predictive analytics, it always starts with a question. And it always starts with trying to help people make better decisions about better understanding what's happened in the past and use that to better understand what's likely to happen in the future. In retail, with the folks who we're working with, oftentimes it's folks within fashion, right, or apparel, where it's very much an art form. In fact, my wife is a merchant working within retail. She's the core persona that we're selling into. And so our tagline is bringing science to the art of retail and trying to merge some of that. More generally, it's thinking about bringing science to the art of decision making. Just to get to the chase in terms of what it is that we're actually providing to the market and the solution that we're providing to the market, it is the Celect platform with the inventory optimization suite. We've positioned this across the merchandising, planning, and allocation process within retail, but also hits the supply chain process as well from a fulfillment perspective. Based on understanding better how customers and products interact with each other, we can help retailers better plan out where they should be making bets. What's trending, right? What's going on within the market? Where are their customers spending the most money? Where is that demand? Now they've decided where they're going to make those bets. They're going to buy this jacket. How much of it should they buy? We help them figure out from a buy quantification and optimization perspective how much they should be buying. You've now bought all these, a bunch of products sitting in a distribution center. You need to get it out in front of customers. How do you allocate that? In what assortment? In what quantities? And help them optimize that allocation. And then finally, pretty much every one of our retail customers from an omni-channel perspective is beginning to think about doing ship from store, putting as much of their inventory into the stores as possible so that they reduce stockouts. But now they have a really important lever, a really valuable lever in season where they can pull, when somebody orders something online, they can pull that order from a store. But optimizing which store to pull it from, again, so that you can reduce your markdowns and stockouts is incredibly important. So what is the context? And I'll go through this quickly. But what is the context in terms of what we're working within? Anybody in the room actually work at within a retail or brand context right now? Yeah. So it's really tough out there, right? Amazon is certainly changing the game. Everybody's looking at this point to how they can better use their data, okay? And they're looking for creative ways to do that. Retailers have more data than they know what to do with, right? It's a matter of how can you leverage that data within your environment. At this point, nobody is arguing the fact that you need to think about it from the omni-channel perspective, but that's actually harder than you might think, right? You need to understand demand when customers are interacting with you online, coming into your stores. They might be interacting with you via social channels, but where we think there's opportunity is be able to understand this demand across all of your different customer touch points and optimize that inventory so that you have the right product at the right place in front of the right customer. At the end of the day, inventory, it's the biggest number on a retailer's balance sheet, and it's the most fundamental task that a retailer has, right? And I'll just build this out. It is identifying what is the likelihood of a particular customer to buy a particular product. If you can answer that question with any level of confidence, you are much better off to be able to prepare for the decision making that you're making in the future, right? You've got a lot of information. You've got a lot of data about your customers and your products and attributes about those. One of the most important pieces of information that you may have is, the transaction information. We'll talk about that in a second, right? But when you think about the complexity of what retailers are asked to do, let me just give you one very specific example. One of our customers, Saks Fifth Avenue, right? Their shoe buying team has $600 million annually to spend on shoes. So if there are any investors in the room, right? When we talk to investors about this, their whole fund is, hopefully $600 million. The shoe buying team has $600 million in their open to buy. In order to put that in play, they need to find 90,000 shoe types, style, color, size combinations. They'll look at immeasurably more than that to make decisions. But it's not just what item, it's the amount of which item, it's in what assortment, and then it needs to gel with the assortment within the rest of the store, in the brand, et cetera, based on understanding that demand. They then, may have hundreds of stores, or some customers, thousands of stores, but it's not just physical stores, it's that online channel as well, and they may actually have a wholesale business, and think about that demand coming from the wholesale partners, where at the end of the day, and forgive me for this, right, but they're trying to find that Cinderella fit with the right customer and the right shoe at a particular time. And you live in a world of constraints, right? Where they may want to have $800 million to spend on shoes, but they only have $600 million. A particular manufacturer may only give them a certain amount of of product because of their own limitations. Where at the end of the day, what they're looking to do is avoid stockouts and avoid markdowns. And the way to do that is one way to be able to do that is to, again, understand that individual interaction between a customer and a product. This is how the retailers are making this decision today. Because of that level of complexity, it comes back to the lowest common denominator of effectively gut instinct and Excel spreadsheets based on static Excel spreadsheets based on backwards-looking data. Now, I mentioned transaction data. Awesome. You've got something to start with, and you can look at what's happened in the past. One of the challenges, and this is one of the core innovations within the underlying platform, if you were to create a spreadsheet of all the products you've ever sold along the top, all the customers down the side, and you were to fill in that spreadsheet, right, with information of what customer bought which product, and then you blow it up on the wall, it looks like a big white spreadsheet, right? So you have very, very sparse data about how your customers and your products are interacting. So what's one way to get around that, right? And one of the core elements from a predictive analytics and machine learning perspective that we've innovated on is this idea of understanding choice. And let me give you an example of this, right? If I look at some products, what's the likelihood of a specific customer to want to buy this product, right? Now, if I look at a couple of products, which one would this customer likely look? Which one will sell better in a specific location based on the buying patterns of all customers within that store? Now, if I add a third item in, is this third item going to be complementary to the other two? Is this going to help my overall revenue? Is it going to be cannibalistic to one of the other products that I might have better margin on, or that I might have more inventory of that I want to sell? This is not going to give you the answer to that, right? Spreadsheets are not going to give you that granular level piece of information that you need. So how do you understand this idea of true demand? And one of the ways that we look at this is understanding the context of how customers are making their decisions. It's not just what the customer bought. Every retailer should be using, every brand should be using that information, right? But what if you also knew what the customer's options were when they made that selection, right? Said another way, what if you knew what the customer didn't buy in addition to what they bought? You now have context in terms of that customer's choice. And when you look at the world and you take all the different data that you have available to you, and you look at the natural experiment going on every time a customer walks into a store and makes a choice where there's a varied inventory in front of them, or they go online and they look at 5 product detail pages, but they put 2 in their shopping cart, or they have 3 items in their shopping cart and they abandon 2 of them and they buy 1 of them. It's context. And that allows us now, when we look at that context, to build up a very robust model that allows us to answer the question, not just what happened in the past, because what happened in the past wasn't optimized, right? You probably didn't have the right products in front of the customers, the right place. You might have sold out of some products, et cetera. But what would a customer prefer to buy if given the choice across an assortment of products? And once you have that model, and then you can do high-scale optimization on top of that, it gives you a much better fighting chance to be able to predict the likelihood of what a customer is really going to buy in the future. And when you can do this, and when you can impact and influence decisions, way back when a customer's building out their plans, or when they're buying the actual product, and then in season, making sure you get the right assortment in front of the right customer, and then using that fulfillment ship from store lever to then optimize within season, the ROI can be pretty staggering. So you can just a few examples of some of the customers that we're working with across that. Great, thank you. Appreciate the time.